start by talking about King Goma, a central figure in the plot of Dragon Ball Daima. We know that he is a demon and, like any king, he is extremely ambitious. Demons in general have a great desire for power, and it is no surprise that Goma is after the demonic third eye. This artifact seems to be much more than just something valuable or rare. It is a key that can unlock immense powers, which justifies Goma's great interest. But after all, why does he want this eye so much? Let's explore some possible reasons. The first and most obvious reason is the grotesque increase in power. The third eye could actually be an artifact that grants the user a significant increase in strength. Or, even more interestingly, it could be an object capable of unlocking forbidden abilities, those deadly and extremely powerful techniques that are beyond the reach of most warriors.
Goldman. That person spelled it wrong.
For many, the past 3 weeks of Dragon Ball Daima have left much to be desired, and it's now come down to these last 5 episodes, and really how these last 5 episodes stick the landing, because the final battle has begun. Let's talk about Dragon Ball Daima episode 16 called Degesu. Now, I have a mixed opinion on this episode because there's some things about it I liked and I have some criticism. What I liked as far as the overall plot and pacing goes is that the plot did move, things actually got resolved here, and there were revelations that came about, and the final few minutes of the episode has officially now begun the final battle. We're going to talk more about that later in the review. However, the way they got there, I think, could have been sped up a bit. Again, the issue is the pacing is a tad bit slow, but thankfully not as slow as I think a lot of us were worried about. In the next episode preview last week, it seemed like this episode would be focused on the Kenpei Tokusatsu, which is the bootleg Ginyu Force, basically. And thankfully, that whole plot thread got resolved very early in the episode. They moved past that pretty quickly. Then they sort of move into this Degesu part, and somewhat. And then that would, of course, lead into the big revelations near the end. Now, remember, at this point, Goku and the group are at the palace. They are at Goma's palace in the #1 demon realm, the center demon realm. And here, there's 2 main goals. One is to rescue Dende, and the other one is to defeat Tamagami 1 and get that final Dragon Ball. Because remember, Goku's group does not know that Majin Ku and Majin Du already were there, and that Tamagami 1's already given up the Dragon Ball. So the Ginyu Force stuff at the beginning of the episode with Vegeta, he's the one that steps up. It was all pretty much done for comedy. They tried their weapons on Vegeta. He easily dodges them in base form, just kind of humiliates them, which I think that that's the right way to go about it. These guys are goons. Why even pretend to make it seem like they're a threat? Just move past it. Now, I will say this, looking back on this, and this is more of a criticism of the entire show, or at least the last few episodes. Now that I look back on it, I don't think these characters were necessary. I think they were there for comic relief, but we already have Majin Ku and Majin Du, and, you know, Goku and Vegeta's relationship, and some of that kind of stuff to be comic relief. You know what I mean? I feel like when it comes to these, the bootleg Ginyu Force, they didn't really do anything. They just were there. They had that scene with Ku and Du a couple episodes ago. Here, they just got humiliated by Vegeta and gave up and gave Goku the potato chips. So, it seemed like that entire group was just wasted or just put there for nostalgia, which wasn't really needed because the whole nostalgia of the, you know, Super Sentai, over-the-top superhero stuff was kind of captured by Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 recently in Dragon Ball Superhero. So, it just feels like that whole group was a waste of time, if you ask me. So they decided to go into the palace. It's a big castle. Like, there's a lot of floors and stairs, and it really does sort of feel like a JRPG final boss. Now, while that's going on, that little demon girl, the one that traded the hat for the belt that had the third eye on it, she's walking around